Hello, I'm James Rod, CEO of Modality Systems, and I'm here today with Justin Morris.
Right, thanks James. I'm Justin Morris, I'm Country Manager for Modality in Australia, and I'm over here in the UK this week, and I thought there'd be an opportunity for James and I to catch up and talk about some of the trends and experiences we've seen in 2017 within the enterprise collaboration industry, and then also what we're going to see in 2018 in terms of what's coming on the horizon and what will be important from an enterprise perspective to ensure a great customer experience. So, James, I think we'll start with 2017. What have been the things that you've seen with customers in the industry that have been really kind of big impacting trends?
Yeah, it's been a good year. I think it's fair to say. It's our 10th year of being in business now as Modality and working in enterprise collaboration. So I think it is fair to say, as a business, continue to grow. The market momentum has been significant, and certainly customers of all sizes and shapes, but certainly globally. Obviously, the region you cover, as well as our US markets, the European markets, Asia, and so on. There's been a couple of big technical announcements this year. I think Microsoft Teams is probably the big product announcement that caught everybody a little bit off guard earlier in the year. And then with that has come a lot of other kind of trend setting. That the more that enterprise communications has been enterprise collaboration, has put pressure on the business to deliver kind of more social aspects of working. And then at the back end, things like security, is a big pressure. And at the front end, actually getting users to use it. Big trends for us. And each of those has been a fairly significant contribution to growth. It's fair to say in your part of the world as well?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think in Australia we've seen a fairly similar type of trends start to play out. I think one thing that Australia has going for it is we're fairly early adopters of some of that technology as it innovates, as it comes to market. So we start to see a lot of those cloud services get jumped on quite quickly. We get a lot of CIOs approaching us and saying, if we look at things like Microsoft Teams and how they're communicating, collaborating within their organisation, how they can best get value out of that and then integrate it into their other workflows that are happening across the organisation, different functional teams as well, and then addressing those adoption challenges that you mentioned before, and starting with a really clear value proposition and leadership being involved from day one around the messaging of that. So I think Australia is a unique and dynamic market in that sense, and I think that's some of the strengths that we have in Modality is we can share those experiences with customers across those markets, and then that kind of gives us a different lens of the industry, both from a geography and a technology perspective.
Yeah, it's fair to building on that point is, given we've got parts of the company on a truly global basis now, in terms of delivering services in well over 150 individual locations. The buzzword trend has really kind of picked up, and we've seen people go through on-premise architecture to generically cloud, to PBX as a service, to cloud PBX, depending on how you want to call it, depends on the vendor. UC as a service has come through, infrastructure as a service, SaaS, etc. There's an awful lot of buzzwords for it. And when you look at a global market and you look at the pace of technology, we are now seeing regions and sectors, for that matter, just leapfrog what would be historically just points of evolution. Nobody today has to step through each and every one of those to get to the next point. There's companies today that aren't going to do cloud PBX, they'll move straight to UC as a service. There will be companies that won't even do that, and they'll move straight to whatever this nature of kind of social communication and collaboration in the workplace will bring. Products like Teams and Slack and Spark and so on are trying to bring into the enterprise. So it just means companies can't rest. There's huge pressure on the companies to bring their working departments together. So combining from the old school world of telecoms and the desktop or IT, they're being rammed together even more quickly than ever before.
Definitely.
And the pressure put on kind of the business analysis and understanding how users are going to interface with the technology and how they're actually going to work, and it's picking the right department with the right process and the right feature and function, with the right technology that sits behind it. And that has really just expanded out the scope of what we end up helping companies try and do and deliver. So when you look back at the whole of 17, it's been really building a lot further into the front end of an organisation, moving away from just working in the data centre and just working on the technology to enable it. We're now actually educating the company on why they should do it, how they do it, picking user groups, really helping those users all the way through. And it's that's been a big shift this year.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I think what we're now starting to see is kind of CIOs and senior level IT managers look at more of the strategy and the outcome they're looking to achieve. because I think it's always tempting to kind of dive into the tech and kind of get really excited about all of that. But I think at the back of our minds, we should always be thinking about what's the outcome and the objective and the value that we're looking to bring to the business. And that means that the architecture and the approach that we take for those different functional areas of the organisation can be slightly different. So there might be one part of the organisation that's quite nimble and needs to be able to innovate quickly, that make a lot of value out of cloud services, and they don't require a lot of help to get value out of that tool. But then there might be other parts of the business that have a heavy regulatory requirement and require, excuse me, some more of a sort of data sovereignty consideration around that, where an on-premises solution could be the right approach for them, and then having all of those work together in a hybrid model, so that if somebody within marketing needs to contact somebody in corporate finance, they've got the tools available to do that, and that there's no friction around that user experience or that kind of flow of information and collaboration.
That's a very valid point. I think this perception from a lot of the vendors in the space will turn around and say, hey, this is one product from one vendor that delivers everything to you, and that's just not the case.
Yeah.
I think people talk about hybrid architectures, multi-vendor architectures as being stepping stones to the end state, and I think, well, it's hard to identify that there will be an end state where it is just one vendor with one product. I think increasingly we're seeing it that these hybrid working environments, whatever the definition of hybrid, whatever the definition of technology is, the choice for which feature function that you're getting on, quite often that hybrid state is the end state. That will give that organisation the best value return out of it, which is nothing new. I mean, this is it's quite interesting how so many people see that as being the objective, where for years and years and years, people bought the best technology from the best vendor for that particular function. That was it. You would have whoever made your phone system, you bought your phone system from. Whoever built your PCs, you bought your PCs from. Same with networking, same with security, same with data center. And so the fact now that people believe you can buy everything from one vendor so quickly, I think is just a little bit of a flawed kind of play in the market, really. I think everybody has to accept there is enough technology out there that will work together.